Okay, pjnet.tv. 9:01, getting a little bit of a late start, but our bumper is running, and we have our guest standing by in the green room. And I see that we're recording, and I see that we are streaming to all kinds of places. So let's begin a countdown to Studio 12. Okay, there went the countdown. Studio 12. Welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and it is Thursday night, and we have yet another first-time guest, but let me give you the history. It was not that long ago, at the suggestion of Ben Cooper, one of the PJNet family, that we had Jolene Steele on our program, and Jolene is in the ministry of campground camp. We'll talk about that later, but she does camps, okay, for kids, and she actually has a partner in that ministry, and we are going to hear from her partner, which is in fact her father, and his name is Eldon Babcock. And Dr. Babcock, we are so pleased to have you hailing from both the great state of Florida as well as some Canadian roots, I believe.
That's correct.
So which is home?
Well, 6 months Florida and 6 months in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Let me guess. The 6 months in Florida, or when it's kind of cold up there, is that?
That's correct. Don't have to shovel the rain down here.
Okay, well, all right, let's get into it. Camp Stick. It's actually Camp Stick.
Camping
Stick Kids. Okay, I'll get this right in a moment, folks. CampingStickKids.org is the website. I'll go ahead and put that up there now. Because now Jolene told us about some of the wonderful things that children are experiencing, encountering Jesus Christ, or enriching or deepening their relationship with Jesus Christ and making friends along the way and having fun. But the having fun part is in many ways your responsibility, because you found a hit, you found a hook, you found a hitch, there's a carrot, but there's also a stick, but you use the stick in a different way.
Yes. Well, Mark, what I found, I've been doing this for many years, and we were with an organization that handed out sticks at trade shows to agricultural shows, but the children often were left out. And so we said, hey, there's got to be something greater than this. And so with Jolene's input and my input, we decided that we needed to add something to that stick, and which it was. And I don't know if you've got the picture or not, but I've got one here of the medallions that we put on the sticks, and I'll talk more about that later. But the kids have to learn Bible verses, and we encourage moms and dads to work with them as they learn Bible verses and put the sticks on, put the medallions on the sticks, and then go for hiking and learn Bible verses. And that's how it all got started about 5 years ago.
How does let's go through the chronology. That stick, you showed us for a moment the finished product.
Yes.
But it did not start life looking like that. How did it start out?
Well, basically, it was air-dried lumber that we got from a mill, and we were making them out of a Ma planer plant in our garage, and that was a slow process. And then a molder, H22 Weinhardt molder, or German molder, that makes about 1,600 sticks an hour, and we can't run them that fast because our volunteers couldn't keep up to it. Mm-hmm. But the molder was donated through an organization to help us, but they owned it. And so we would cut the boards and then plane them and then make them. And then we came up with the idea to make them into hexagon. And I think, again, I showed you the hexagon stick and got a profile to make them. And just as we were starting to get going, due to circumstances, the organization that we were with decided to sell the molder. But prior to that, I had been down here in the States for a while, and my friend up in Canada stopped to visit him, and I gave him $3, which I had in my pocket, American dollars, and I said, whenever you find a ministry to put this to, why don't you ask God what to do with it? Well, a year later, we're at this convention where the organization wanted to sell the molder, and I'd gone off to a meeting, and he was sitting in that meeting, and the chairman said, we need to sell that molder. And Dave happened to have his Bible where he'd put this $3 a year previous. And he said, I never take it with me, because we were down in Davenport, Moline, Iowa. And so he said, he opened it up, and there was this $3. And he looked at it, and he turned to the chairman of the board, and he said, well, you take $3 for that machine. Machines worth 100,000, and the gensets were the 15, 20,000, and they said sold. And so his wife came into the meeting where I was, and she said, you just bought yourself a molder for $3. And so I said, what? And so we then started making these hexagon sticks, got the profile blades, and to the honor and glory of God, Mark, we have probably shared the gospel at least 25,000 times per year over the last 10 years, and that's over about 250,000 people or more, and many of those have been children. And as a result, we've developed a curriculum that Jolene talked about, I think, the last time she was on. And so we continue to make these sticks, and the story continues from there.
Now, Eldon, do you have experience as a woodworker, turning wood, whittling wood, beating nails into wood?
Good question, Mark. When I first got that huge molder, like it's not a toy. It's about 8 feet long and a couple feet wide, and it's more than 8 feet. It's probably 12, 15 feet. And I thought you just plugged it in the wall. No, it's a 3-phase, and it has several 3-phase motors on it. And I thought, oh, what do I do now? And that's how we had the genset donated to us by a gentleman who used the gensets to missionary organizations, and we, being a mission work, he donated it to us. But then we had to rewire it and wire it into this machine, and I didn't even know how to hardly do a thing with wood. Although my dad and my brother were carpenters, and I didn't hardly know one end of a hammer from the other. So we just started working at it and coming up with designs, and so that's what's happened. And we've run through several thousand, 100,000 sticks in the last 5 years, and have given out probably between 25, 30,000 sticks a year to kids at homeschool conventions and some of the trade shows we go to. So answer your question about woodworking, no, I'm really not. Although down here in Florida, I do a little carving and work out of the wood shop down here a little bit, making, woodpeckers that I carved and wood knockers, and then I do just a few turning of bowls and things like that, because they're all set up for that. But meanwhile, we were making these sticks ourselves, and now just this year, because of the demand, and my volunteers are getting a bit older. Of course, you don't, but I do. And so our volunteer base got too old where they couldn't keep coming to where the molder was. And so we found an Amish gentleman over in Wisconsin that is now just starting to make the first 10,000 for us for this year. And so we're pretty excited about that. Of course, we're volunteers, and our organization is a nonprofit, so we just, by faith, trust the Lord to pay for all these sticks, and that's how we do it.
Okay, so let's go over some technical details. If I could, if you can turn your speakers down on your end a little bit, it won't make as much of an echo. I want you to be able to hear me, but okay, that may work a little better. We're getting there. Can you still hear me, Eldon?
Yeah.
Okay, good. For those of you that have been listening attentively, and I hope that you have, he mentioned that the sticks are hexagonal. Okay. Hexagons. Hex means 6. It has 6 equal sides. Okay, so just so you'll know. He also mentioned things like 3-phase. That means the machine that he has doesn't plug in to the wall the same way your microwave oven or even your oven does, okay? And he also mentioned genset. What that is, folks, is a generator, a motor-driven generator, diesel, propane, some are gas. But he
This
generates his own electricity from the equipment that has either been outright given or placed on a 99-year loan for $1, whatever the deal is there. Because as you've heard, if you have been paying attention attentively, I know that you are, the initial volley this year is 10,000 sticks. Now I got to ask you another technical, or I'm an engineer, Eldon, so you
yes.
got to kind of understand where I'm coming from. Okay, now you got your design here. What is the ideal length of the stick? How did you come up with that?
Well, it's a hiking stick, and so when we use it for adults, it's generally a longer stick. But right now it's 44 inches, and the children can use that, and young people can use that, and it's made out of hardwood like a white poplar or yellow poplar, sycamore. The new ones are going to be made out of mahogany, but because it's got to be able to nail the medallions on it. But we are able to use them as a hiking stick. So 44 inches is our length that we make them right now.
Now the one that I'm looking at appears to be untreated. It's just a piece of wood.
That's correct. It's a plain piece of wood, and the reason why that is because then we want the children and adults to be able to nail on the medallions, which they have to learn 2 Bible verses to get them each medallion. And when they learn the Bible verse, we start with gold, and then of course that's for heaven, and the dark's for sin, and the red's for the blood of Christ, and I get that into my camera, I guess, and then green's for spiritual growth. And then the kids can write their names on it, or people can write their names. And I was working in a trailer park with drug addict children just a year or two ago with this particular stick I have in my hand. And out of the 23 children, I gave an invitation for them to opportunity to give their lives to Christ, and asked them to come and sign their name on a piece of paper, which was in the shape of a cross. And 7 of the 23 kids came up and signed that paper, and then they signed my stick that they had received Christ. And well, then we've been doing some follow-up with those children since then, and it's just marvelous to see how the whole purpose, Mark, is to get the gospel of Jesus Christ to as many people as possible, and hopefully moms and dads will teach the children the importance of knowing who Christ is. And so that's what we do. In fact, if I can throw a quote at you, it's not mine, but it says that if we don't teach our children who Jesus Christ is, the secular world is going to teach them who he is not. Right. And so I firmly believe that if mom and dad take it so serious, and I get blessed thinking about this, that they can teach their kids who Jesus is. And when that's done, hopefully those kids will take the gospel and share with other friends. And we've seen that happen. I can tell you story after story of where many children have come to know Christ. Mom and dad have also through the ministry. And that's very exciting for me to see that.
Well, we can tell. Eldon, I'm fascinated the concept because it at its core, it's just a stick.
That's correct.
At its core. But a lot of craftsmanship has gone into it to make it into what they see right now. Now, you figured out the ideal size. I presume you have to sand this a little bit to keep it from splintering their hands?
None whatsoever, because the molder that we have, and I still have it, by the way, and it's now going to be used to make some more sticks for people up in Canada. But this comes out all sanded, clean, cured, and then on the end, it's run off like this, and a hole drilled in that. And if I may suggest, that costs us $1.25 a stick, and it comes all like that. They bundle them in 25, and then we do it that way. But we were doing it all with volunteers, and that's how we keep our costs down. And then when we take them to the shows, we can count, by 25s, which is the easy way to count sticks.
Well, and now the medallions, how are they manufactured?
How are they manufactured? Well, the boards are 8 feet long, and we run them through this molder that I was talking about, and they're a flat board, about 6 to 8 inches long, and 8 feet. 6 inches wide, 8 inches wide, and the board's 8 feet long, and then we run them through the molder like that, and they come out at the other end we run at about 100 and some a minute or more, and the guys at the other end are catching them because they're all
Spewing
cut
out.
off, and then they put them on a jig, and then they go over to the jig, and then we wrap them up in plastic wrap and put them on pellets and take them to the next show.
Well, I
And
was
that's how we do
curious.
it.
Earlier, you showed me a stick that had the medallions, the colored
Yes,
medallions in it. How are those manufactured?
we hire those done. Actually, the original ones were made out in California. We're now getting them made out of Oregon, and they're expensive because they're brass and there's little nails that go into each stick and nails it on. And so the kids hammer or the adults can hammer that medallion on the stick. And then the next day, when they learn the next verse, they do the same thing, and they just fold around. And the medallion is about like this. It's in a package here. I think you can see that. And
Okay.
that's what we do. And so we get those made out of California or out of Oregon, and they're cheap. Not cheap. They're expensive.
Well, they're
And
brass, and they're partially formed. It looked like they're already bent somewhat.
yes, we have to bend them around our finger to make them fit the stick, because the kids have to nail them on, and if we don't form them, they have them falling all over the place. So we take this medallion and then put it on our finger like that, and then squeeze it like
Okay,
that,
sort of form it to your finger.
and then it goes around the stick.
And well, I've had the pleasure of working internationally with missionaries in construction projects. Now, I'm not very good at construction. In fact, I really am bad at it. And I found out an interesting observation is, what do you think a missionary says when they hit their thumb with the hammer?
Well, I like what Billy Graham said when he was asked that same question, and he said, "I say, ouch."
They say the same thing I would say.
That's ouch.
Right. I say ouch. You know, ouch just doesn't cut it though, Eldon. To be honest,
Well,
but
I don't mean to get preaching, but I really believe that if we have the power of God in our hearts and in our lives and understand who Jesus is, because in Ephesians it says that Christ lives in us, and that we become new creatures in Christ Jesus, as Corinthians says, and he takes the swear words and the cuss words out of you. And I can remember as a kid, a gentleman that had come to know Christ under my dad's ministry came up to my dad, and he said, "I know I got Christ in my heart because I didn't swear at my horses today." And so I think that we could hit our thumb and just say ouch, and because we know Christ lives in our heart, and we will not blaspheme against God or the Holy Spirit.
well, Jesus grew up as a apprentice to a
Yes,
carpenter,
that's correct.
and so my question is, did he ever make any mistake or imperfect? In,
Well,
why did
I
he
like
need to
to
learn?
think,
I mean, yeah.
this is my own personal opinion, but I think that Joseph was one of the best teachers, and he probably taught him the best way to craft. And I'm sure as an apprentice, then Christ probably made a few mistakes, but I just think his dad was very gentle and walked him through it. And I think that's the same thing when we work with our children, that we need to be gentle with them and just say, "Hey, kids, you're going to hit your finger." And in fact, to be honest with you, we now teach the leaders that are helping the kids put these medallions on to use long-nosed pliers to hold the nail
Hold the
and hammer
nail.
so they don't hit their fingers.
There
And
you
then
go.
and we generally start the nails part way in so that the children get an opportunity to bang them in without hitting their fingers, and then we just hold them with a plier, and that way they don't have to say any more than
Yeah.
"Thank you, sir."
And sometimes those nails can kind of go flying off, if you don't have them seated good before you give it a good whack. But
That's correct, Mark. That's
don't
correct.
take advice from me on how to do anything involving a hammer, nails, and that. It is simply a discipline that I've neglected to learn. I'm sure I'd be good at it if I really tried.
Yes.
But, yeah. A fascinating thing about this is, when children go to camp, whether it's secular or Christian,
Yes.
they're going to have crafts. They're going to have things they bring home. And my guess is that if you were to a year later say, "Where's that stuff you brought from camp?" I would say in many, if not most cases, it would be, well, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because that's another reason, Mark, why we came up with the medallions and the hiking stick, because what happens is most camps will send kids home with 8.5 by 11 with a pencil maple leaf colored on it, or a picture of something colored, and it's just crumpled when they get home. And quick story, I was in my insurance office a few months later after we'd done a camp like this, and I don't know the religious background, it doesn't matter, but the mother agent said to me, "Are you the guys that have the sticks?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "My daughter got one at the camp a few weeks ago, and she has learned the Bible verses and learned how to say that, and she has that stick by her bed every night to remind her of what she learned at camp." And she said, "I don't know what it does, but it sure changed her life, and I want to thank you for sharing that with my daughter." And the daughter is 12 years old. And
Wow.
and then if I can give you another quick story, and I will use the denomination on purpose, but a Roman Catholic teacher of education, a religious class, came to me and said, "Eldon, can I get some of those beads and sticks for my kids in my religion class?" Because he says, "Every Friday I give these bracelets out to my kids and tell them the story of Jesus Christ." And then the next year he came back and he said, "I don't have enough of those. Can you give me more?" And he said, "I'll give you $20 for it." And I said, "No, they're all free." They walked away with a bundle of beads that were all made up for him. And then he said, 20's not enough. I want to give you 40. But he said, "Every Friday before they leave class, I share the gospel of Jesus Christ with them." I said, "Wow, thank you so much, sir." So that's how the gospel gets out, passing it on one to another. And that's our whole goal, is that people will come to know Jesus Christ in such a personal way that they can't help but share it with others.
Amazing, amazing ministry, Eldon, and thank you for sharing with us. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We went a little bit over, in fact, but we could probably talk another 30 minutes about the experiences and still not even scratch the surface. So
Yes.
we are excited to know that you're doing this and have been doing it, and the impact of doing this ministry in the kingdom is a phenomenal testimony to what can happen when we just give ourselves to Jesus Christ and his kingdom. And we appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Thank you, Art.
All right, folks, that was Eldon Babcock, and what a story. Well, I'm going to have to accelerate because in just a few moments, Michelle Medlock Adams will come our way, and that's at the bottom of the hour, and I've got a little work to do between now and then in preparation for that. So, as I leave, I will leave you with a challenge in the form of two very, very simple yet profound questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? The follow-up question is, how long ago was that? I certainly hope none of us will be satisfied with either answer.